What is school, or at least what should it be? I'm Dr. Jeff Kreh, your online humanities tutor, and I'm here to help you discover an education worthy of a free people. In today's video, we're going to talk about some ideas in this book, Leisure, The Basis of Culture by Joseph Pieper. And one of the things, when I read through this, it's been several years ago now, probably 6 or 7 years ago now, one of the things that caught my eye was Pieper focuses on the idea of school early. And what is school? And what can we learn from the word school that gives us an idea of what schooling should be? And so the word school, in the Latin, it's scholae, where we get the word scholarship or school. And it shows up in the Latin version of the Bible. It shows up over there in Psalms and teaching me or that sort of thing. Learning is involved, but it comes from if you go back to the Greek Septuagint, that word scholae in the Greek form is there in the very first chapter of the Bible. The idea of school in its classical, traditional, as long as language has existed idea is found in Genesis chapter 1. At the very end, God has done all his work, and on the seventh day, scholae. On the seventh day, God rested. And so what is it about school and rest that we've lost? School has become a very directed program, a very pouring in of ideas and pushing in of some broader socio-political agenda. But the original concept for humans learning in the divinely exampled, or with God as the divine exemplar, is rest. So how do we learn when we're at rest? In fact, this idea of rest there on the seventh day when God rested is so important that when the Israelites were brought out of Egypt, you remember they go to the mountain and Moses gets the 10 commandments, and that fourth commandment, I think it is, the one about Sabbath, rest, that is hearkening back to God on the seventh day resting. And this is something that is it's so much a part of humans, and God desired it so badly for humans that he gives to the Israelites a law about taking a day to rest. In fact, it's so important that it's one of these laws that you will rest under penalty of death. Now, these are slaves who are used to working 7 days a week and never having time for anything other than work and obviously procreation because they grew so large and whatever else. But they were not used to taking time just to think. And Pieper makes the argument and shows it very, I'm so convinced by this. He shows that there is no advancement in society anywhere in history that happens without the contemplative act. And when you sit down and you just think about it, it makes sense. If we're working all week and we're just doing the work, and however we have learned to do it in the past, we're just doing the work. When we get to the seventh day, if we take time to rest and we just let our mind not focus on work, not think about anything having to do with work, all of a sudden the mind starts to do efficiency work for us and say, if you'd put a handle on that rock, you could lash a handle to that rock like the fingers hold together when you hold hands with your wife. And you could lash that rock to a stick and get more power, and it'd be easier on your hand because you tore up your hand this week trying to do whatever it was you were doing, beating things with a rock. And so we start to see a slow and progressively faster development of all the things that inform culture, all the human ideas that go into the tools and the trades and the techniques and the beliefs and the practices and the architecture and the clothing. All of that comes out of contemplation, out of rest. And so in today's busy world, where we're being sold the idea that education is a program, that you're programmed, and here's this, here's this information coming in, and you've got to, and you've got the pressure and everything, and I mean, kids are freaking out and stressing out, and adults, I know adults who are like, how am I supposed to retool when everything's changing so much? Well, you've got to take time to rest. You've got to take time to contemplate. And you've got to have something in your mind greater than work that you're contemplating on. And that's where the value of these books behind me, the value of great literature, of hero stories from the past, of seeing not the formulas of education like in mathematics with algebra or whatever, but rather how did these people think? How did these great men and women who have shaped culture, how did they think? And when we look back to the Garden of Eden and we see God resting, the word there is contemplation. And if we will take time to learn how to contemplate and then learn how to direct our contemplation so that we more and more naturally become the problem solvers that we're designed to be, learning and school takes on a whole new meaning. If you'd like to learn in a way that takes advantage of not lazy leisure, but thoughtful and intentional leisure time, if you would like to take your downtime and turn it into upgrading your thinking and your problem solving in all your relationships, join me over at Facebook, facebook.com/Dr. Jeff Kreh. Join me over there, and I've got a group where we're doing a humanities boot camp, and I have as a goal, as a mission, to help 15 families and 18 students at a bare minimum discover this way of learning this fall so that we can start to raise up the next generation of servant leaders, of problem solvers, of free people. I want you to have an education worthy of a free people. If there's anything I can do to help you, or if you have any questions, comments, smart remarks, leave them below. As always, 100 Brazilian points for the best comment, and you can use those however you want.